Well, we got a load of some Polarises here that we're gonna go through and get these things fixed up, cleaned up, fix a bunch of little things, and get these things ready to sell and flip and make some money. So what do we got here? We have got this was like a 2019 900 Polaris Ranger. This one runs great. Definitely needs some CV shafts. It's clicking super bad. Both the seat bottoms are torn, so we'll recover these things, replace some CV shafts on it, get it cleaned up. Got a Northstar Ranger. This thing's got 25,000 miles on it, like 1,700 hours, but it was super cheap, and honestly, it's in really good shape. The only thing this thing needs is like a front CV shaft on it. Other than that, everything works great on it. And then we've got a couple 570 Sportsmans. This one is a 14, I believe, and then we got a 15 SP version there too. Both of these run great. This one obviously needs a seat cover on it, and then front storage box, as well as some CV shafts and some headlights, and so a bunch of little things, mainly cosmetic stuff on these. Motor wise, drivetrain wise, everything seems to be good on all four of these machines, but we're gonna get these things cleaned up. We'll fix some stuff on it, show a little before and after, and get these things ready to sell to make some money. All right, so this is that Northstar. This is a 2019. Like I said, it's got 25,000 miles on it and like 1,700 hours, but man, honestly, this thing seems to run and drive great. The only thing I found wrong with it so far, I mean, I guess there's a crack in the windshield, but nothing too crazy there. That's definitely not worth replacing. Is got one torn boot up front, but other than that, AC works on it, heat works on it. The clutches seem super smooth. Seat has a little bit of wear to it. Not bad enough to replace yet though. But yeah, this one's gonna be a pretty easy little fix here compared to the other stuff. The other ones are definitely a little more work. But yeah, it just goes to show you, if you take care of this stuff, they'll definitely run forever. I've had a lot of these Polaris Rangers with a bunch of miles before. So I think this one's just gonna get a quick detail, and this one's gonna be done. But all the other ones here, we're gonna do a lot more too. All right, so on this 900 Ranger here, first thing I noticed was that this rear right CV shaft is actually broken. So it's only one wheel driving on this left side here. And it's spinning the shaft, basically it's broken out this joint. So we're gonna replace that side for sure. And then this front right one here is super torn. This one's clicking real bad. Got this jacked up here. You can see exactly what's going on. So we're spinning, it's broken right down in there in the joint. Only thing holding on is a little clamp. We'll get this wheel off, get that hub all yanked off, and get this axle out. So I've got this stripped down here, basically pulled the hub off, and then the upright and everything with the bolts that went across there into the A-arms. So normally what I would do is, for a little trick, is I would take this hub, slide it back on there, and use that as kind of a slide hammer to yank this off. But there's really nothing holding this thing on at the moment, so I might have to get a little more creative. Hopefully I can get lucky and this CV shaft will pop out. Another little trick is to get these things really nice in line so you're pulling straight out on it. If you're pulling down, like at an angle on it, they rarely ever come out. So I was having no luck pulling this out because of the end there. So what I did here was took one of my long pry bars, slipped it back in there, and then as I was pushing on that way, came from the bottom side, hit up here on it with a hammer. I think I've just got this thing to break free a little bit. So sometimes that trick works too. All right, just like that. Got the new shaft pushed in there, so we'll just reverse the process here and put all this back together, and then go tackle that front one. Removing the front shaft is a very similar process. Pull the wheel off, pull the brake caliper off, 2 bolts there. Take the hub off, and then on these, to pull the A-arm off, basically you remove that bolt right there, and then that slides out, and then you can drive the ball joint off the spindle, and then give the shaft a big old yank. So this one's still intact, but this boot's basically gone. It's got all sorts of dirt and crap back in there. All right, we got our front axle back on there. This one went pretty straightforward. So we'll throw this tire back on here, take this thing for a drive, and see if we got any clicking anywhere else. We got any other shafts that need to be replaced. All right, this thing runs and drives great again. So no more clicking with any of the CV shafts. Everything seems to be good on it. So let's tackle these seats now. So these will lift right off. This bottom pad will come off. And then same deal with these. These backs are fine. But we're going to recover these bottom seats so they look nice again. No more cracks, nothing. Be like new. On the driver's side seat on this Polaris Ranger here, there's just 4 torque screws. Zip those out, and then the whole seat bottom comes off of the actual seat pan and everything, and then we can recover this. So with these seats, to recover them, all it really takes is sliding off the old vinyl on here. What I like to use is a big, nice, long, flat screwdriver. Work that underneath the staples, pop all that old vinyl off, and then slip some new vinyl over it and staple back underneath. So my best advice for when recovering seats and stuff like this is pick a good material. So this material I got is super stretchy and everything, which makes it really nice for corners and everything. This stuff I've been getting from, it's like marine vinyl, like llc.com or something. Not a sponsor, but it's really good fabric. Super stretchy. It's nice stuff. All right, just like that. We've got this thing wrapped. Clean the dust off of it. Trim the excess off. We got a done seat. This stuff I do all the time to machines where it makes a huge difference selling. So they've got a nice seat on them, and it doesn't take much to have this material on hand. Once you get good at it, it takes you maybe 15-20 minutes for most seats, and then they look like new again. And just like that, the second one is done too. Alright, let's throw these back on there, and we're just going to clean this Ranger up now. Power wash all the mud out of it and get it detailed up. And that one's done. This is the downside of side-by-sides, is they just pack in so much mud. These Rangers are just horrible about it. Like, these tires just throw mud up in there. The skid plates don't really drain. It just packs in underneath the motor. Everywhere else, you just sit there and power wash for like hours on these things. And you think you're done, and you've just blown it from one side to another. Sucks. Well, this one's pretty much clean underneath, so now we're going to put the seats back in it and give it a detail. And then we'll probably call it good on this one. Alright, now we've got everything, all the mud anyway, washed off. We're going to detail this thing up. All these black plastics. And so this is what I've been using lately, this tire, or the Chemical Guys tire shine stuff. Works great on the tires. It works great on all the plastic stuff too. Just spray it on and buff it off. So here's our quick before. We'll see what it looks like after. Well, it's a finished project. Boy, just a few little things goes a long way on this thing. A little detailing and stuff. These plastics, they look nice and clean again. Seat is bearable. No holes or wet, mushy foam anymore. Seems to run good. It's no more clicking when you're turning or anything. This one's basically ready to sell. Now we're gonna do some 570 Sportsmans. Alright, we're gonna start on these 570 Sportsmen. So that boot right there is torn. Well, obviously needs to be replaced, but sometimes these things will click even if the boots aren't torn or don't have crap in them. So usually when you're driving, slow speed turning, you'll hear just like a click, 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 and it goes up with speed. That is the signs of a CV shaft. People think it's always something way worse than it is, but it's just a CV shaft. So very similar to the Ranger, we pull the wheel off. We're going to do pretty much the same thing on this rear. Pull our brake caliper off, pull the hub off, undo the suspension joints here so we can take this upright off, get this CV shaft nice and in line, give it a big old yank out. So with all that stuff out of the way, another trick that I like to do is this upper A-arm is to undo the sway bar link so you can raise this A-arm up and out of the way so that this can be nice and in line. Because usually when you're pulling down at an angle, the thing just rarely comes out. Old shaft is out, so another trick that I love to do is take your hub, slide that back onto the end, put your nut on the end, and now you've got a nice big handle to hold on to, and this outer hub will act as a slide hammer. It'll slide on that splines a little bit, gives you a real nice surface to grab onto and really get some force to yank these things out. And we've got our new one back in there. So we're going to button this back up, take it for another drive, see if the other shafts are clicking. Couldn't quite tell if that left side was clicking too on this one or not. Well, just took it for a drive. No more clicking on the rear, so it's just the one side there that was bad. So next step is this rack, which somebody went and screwed this thing down. This is so common on the 570 Sportsmans of this year range, is that where they pivot up here, it's these tiny little bitty plastic brackets, and they always crack, especially if you put any sort of weight on the rack. Really, like, they're meant to hold maybe 20 pounds, and that's about it. But they make aftermarket reproduction ones. Amazon and eBay, man. That's where you can get this stuff. Kind of interesting. They got little indicators or spots for some little lights up front. They don't say Polaris on the front, but they will work just as good, and they are like a third the price of a Polaris one. So let's pull this thing off and get this new one on. So on these front racks, this is that hinge. This is all that holds these things on, is just that thin little plastic, and then that goes onto this little metal bracket with like a little pin in there. Ridiculous. I don't know why they ever did this on these Sportsmans. Like this design, they eventually got rid of it on the newer ones, but geez, this thing lasted for like 7 years on this design. Okay, the new rack is on there, but we've got no latches, which super common on these two. These things, just with time, sun deteriorates them and they crack and stuff, but there are all sorts of replacements available. Once again, eBay or Amazon on those are usually like 10 bucks for the pair, and it looks like we're going to have to do both sides. So these things just rivet in there, and that's pretty much it. So install some of those, and then basically we need to throw a headlight in this thing and then wash and detail it. All right, on to the last Sportsman here. Obviously, we're going to recover that seat. That's going to look way better. CV shafts again. We've got one on the rear for sure. That one's all cracked out. So we'll replace that one. See if the other ones are clicking. The front ones seem to be okay. Got another front storage box lid on this. Looks like we're going to replace one of those for sure. I think the other latch is still good. And then headlight on this one as well. And then some cleaning and detailing. So let's go yank that shaft out. All right, we got the same old process. Put our hub on here. Try to give this thing a good old yank. All right, just like that. 2 yanks, it came out. That's always nice. Let's tackle the seat on this thing. All we're going to do, just like on the Rangers, same process. Slip underneath here, peel off this old cover. So in this case, this seat foam has a few chunks out of it, which usually when you put new vinyl on it, it'll kind of cover most of these up and smooth a lot of this out. But sometimes in some of these little deeper grooves, I keep kind of just some finer foam or anything like that. That'll kind of just fill in some of these holes, and then when you lay over your new vinyl, it'll smooth that out. So I'm probably going to do that to these, cut a few little pieces just to lay down in some of these low spots and smooth it out of here. Well, now that I got that seat cover off, you can kind of see a little bit better the highs and the lows. So I'm going to cut a little piece, kind of lay in here, and probably some up there too, and then not get too crazy with it, but yeah, once I put my new vinyl over, it'll look pretty smooth again. Got a few pieces kind of laid in here, some nice kind of soft foam just to kind of fill that gaps. Got my piece of vinyl cut. Stretch this thing over. I'll call it a day. Alright, just like that. Much better. Not perfect by any means, but boy, looks way better than a seat with a whole bunch of holes in it. Boy, it sure makes a big difference just putting a front rack on these things. Okay, so last thing we got left to do in here is throw in a headlight. These things are pretty darn simple. Basically that little peg there snaps in right there. Same thing on the left side, and then there's one screw that kind of holds it from going up and down. And that's basically it. And then we're going to clean this thing up, and then we're done with all these projects. Alright, I lied. Last thing I'm going to do here. These handlebars, they're rocked forward a bunch, and they just feel incredibly goofy. So we're going to push these back where they're supposed to be. Take this top pot off, a couple little screws on the side there, and then basically down underneath here, these 4 bolts, loosen up those nuts just a little bit, and then we can rock these handlebars back where they're supposed to. I'm guessing somebody kind of crashed this thing and shoved themselves into these handlebars and pushed them forward. Well, I thought I was done with this one. I was watching it and just letting it run for a while. Fan was kicking on, then all of a sudden on the speedometer I was getting a low battery light. So I checked my voltage and stuff at the battery, charging. So on these 570s, some terminals here go right to the battery. I was not getting any charging on it. So first thing I did was check the stator wires, which right back there, those 3 yellow wires, those are going to the stator. Check those getting AC voltage out of them. No connection to ground, meaning your stator's great and good. So we've probably got a voltage regulator problem that's hidden right here. So I'm gonna throw a voltage regulator in this thing quick and then see if we're charging. So these are kind of the normal things I find as I'm running these for a while and checking all the little things out on them. Out with the old, in with the new. These are pretty simple. Basically, this plug here is going down to the stator to the 3 wires, and then the red and the black one are going to those terminals right there underneath the hood. So we'll bolt this back in here and then check voltage, and hopefully we should be seeing like 13.5 volts or so when it's running. Oh, we got some success. So we're 13 volts at idle. Perfect. Voltage regulator for the win. Okay, now I think we're finally maybe done with this thing, other than some detailing. Alrighty, we are officially done with all of these projects here. So, do a quick walk around. Said Northstar really didn't have to do much of that one at all. This one's CV shafts, recovering them seats, detailing. This 570, same deal, front storage rack. CV shafts, detailing, pretty much same story. This one had the most work by far, but overall these things came out pretty good. So, if you made it this far in the video, let's talk about some numbers. I'm sure you're curious, what did I buy all these for? So all 4 of these machines came from the same dealer that I work with. Paid $16,000 for all 4 machines. Parts, I've got probably just a little over $500 worth of parts with those racks and CV shafts and miscellaneous little things like that. So as far as timeline, I picked these up on Tuesday. It is Thursday today, and they're all done. So including drive time, stuff like that, and I had to work on these things completely around the clock during the workday, kind of in between other projects and other customer stuff. Probably have about 2 full days worth of labor into these machines. So with the price that I paid on them, so these things, this Northstar here, got this one posted for $11,000. Wish it was lower miles, it'd be probably a $15,000 machine. This Ranger, $7,500 on this one, $4,000 on this 570, and $3,000 on this 570. So all those together, if I sell those things for my asking price or right around there, which I probably should, they're priced reasonable for what they are. That's looking at about a $9,000 profit on the whole thing, which for 2 days worth of work, if you do the math there, say an 8-hour day, that's $500 an hour. So this is the reason I like to stick to buying and selling and stuff. Like, I work in customer machines from time to time and in between my own stuff. Don't mind doing that just to fill the time if I'm caught up on my things, but I hate charging people labor. I would much rather just buy a machine, know what I can get out of it, you know, buy it, sell it, and, you know, if it's something where it only took me 2 hours to fix it, but I can, you know, mark it up $1,000 on what I paid for it, that's pretty awesome. So these things are ready to sell. So I guess follow along for the next project or build or kind of whatever I get into.